Okay.
There we go.
Interesting.
We're now live, Chair.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Winwick. Good evening. Welcome to Winwick Parish Council. Apologies for absence, please, Julian.
Apologies received from Councillor Mitchell, the normal chair, also from Councillor Matthews, who may arrive later on, but he certainly won't be at the start of the meeting, and also from Councillor Russ Pinnell, who's now tendered his resignation as a councillor. And that's too near the elections to cause a by-election or anything like that, isn't it? Yes, it's within 6 months. Yeah.
Seat remains vacant. Yes. Okay. Code of conduct. Do any councillors have anything to declare? Code of conduct?
No.
No. Okay. The minutes of the previous. Have we all got sight of a copy of the minutes?
Yep.
Okay. They start on page 3. Anything there? Page 4 and 5. Pages 6 and 7. Eight and 9.
Chair, I'm sorry. Are you just asking for corrections at the moment?
Yes, it can. Has
Oh, I'm
anybody
sorry.
got any corrections?
That's fine. So I want to raise a matter arising, but that's okay. Sorry.
Where was up to? Page 10 and 11. Any errors there? Anybody can see? 12 and 13. 14, 15. 16, 17. 18, 19. 20, 21. And 22's got one sentence on it. Okay, any matters arising from there?
Yeah, I've one, if I may, Chair. It's more of a question, really. We spoke last time about, I don't want to reopen the debate, but the issue of litter maintenance on roads that the parish litter picker was unable to access for health and safety reasons. I'm just wondering, has there been, it might be covered later in the agenda, has there been any kind of follow-up discussions around that? Because I just noticed from reading the minutes that aspect, I understand we did a very sort of thorough debate on what couldn't be done, but I'm just wondering if we managed to reach any kind of hardened conclusions about what could be done, because one of the issues the residents were raising was about the build-up of litter on certain rural roads, and I'm just concerned that that problem is not going to vanish, and unless something is done, it will just get worse. Or I'm just not entirely clear what conclusion we reached.
Have we got a way forward, I suppose? I don't think we just discussed it at all, Julian.
We didn't come up with a solution at the last meeting, Chair, but I know that Councillor Matthews has been in touch with the litter picking network, the volunteers that have kindly agreed to do some litter picking. And I think at one stage they were in touch with the police, who offered to do a kind of rolling roadblock to allow them to pick. Now, I'm not sure to what extent that is practical, but they're certainly exploring that issue. We can bring that information back as soon as we've got some more information on that for you.
It has been. It has taken place on one road with the police with signs out on Delph Lane by the side of B&Q. They couldn't get to the end of it because there was roadworks at the end, but they did do it there with one of the PCs, sort of waving cars past, sort of thing. And that was, I don't know when it was, but that has taken place.
That's fair enough.
But,
I'm not being difficult, Chair, and obviously I don't want to open the whole debate up again. I'm just conscious that
I think we might be, Chris.
Well, we might. I'm just conscious that obviously someone took the time to write to us to draw our attention to a particular problem, and I'm just conscious of us at least doing the maximum possible that we can do to try and resolve that problem for the person.
Yeah, I agree. Is there an item on the agenda for litter picking? Yeah, I think there is somewhere, isn't there?
Yeah, I'll leave it there then.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 4, is it updates on issues from previous meetings? Have we got any updates?
The updates, Chair, in a schedule provided from page 23 onwards. So there are a number of
In the tables,
longer term updates that some of which we'll pick up at the annual meeting, and some of the more recent ones have been completed. There's a few outstanding as well at this stage. Obviously, the litter picker project is a long-term project which will sort of work its way through, but Claire, I know, is on with that. Sorry, Claire's got her hand up as well. We'll defer to Claire.
Just to let you know, items 8, 12 and 13, as far as I'm aware, are completed. The amended financial regulations are part of the finance report tonight for you to just approve, as that the changes have been made as you wanted them.
8, 12, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 12 is the actual changes, and then 13 is to circulate the amended version, which is, like I say, it's been sent round.
Yeah.
And Mr. Hannon is doing a fabulous job of keeping colour in the flower planters before the summer flowers come in.
Yep.
Yes.
Put a few bits in for now, but it's just to keep it colourful rather than letting the winter ones die out and having a month or two with dead plants in there. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on those tables? Anybody wishes to raise? Okay. Next item, question time. One, I believe, is that right?
There is one question, Chair. It was submitted actually on the day of the last meeting, but because of the timing, I wasn't able to get it to the committee in time, to the council. So it's a question by a local resident. I tend to anonymise these, so apologies.
Yes.
But the gentleman will know who he is. He's written before in connection with the Winwick primary school proposals. So he was essentially asking if the parish was aware of the latest proposals, and he'd highlighted some issues, some concerns around the barrier and those
The double gates, the gates on
the gates there that are going to go on the road. So I have written to him to explain that the matter was actually discussed at the last meeting, and some of those very same concerns were raised by members around the table. But of course, the council has agreed in principle to the proposal so far, subject to further discussions about the detail of it with the school.
Yep.
Yeah, in the interim as well, having looked, obviously seen copies of the plans because he's a local resident, the centre manager has spoken to the school caretaker about potentially, if they do put the barrier in at the front, having a key for the centre to be able to open that as well. So anything that they've got that's lockable, about us having access for a key just in case someone leaves it locked and we need to be able to access it. So
Well, I think it was a lot more than that, wasn't it? We couldn't.
Yes.
How could we run a children's?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I was going to say, has there any, I think there's a lot of questions we need to ask about, well, from the leisure centre's point of view, in that a lot of the time they want to lock it in the afternoon is the time a lot of the hirers leave, because, they tend to be parents and getting home for children. And that's the time the barrier's locked. If they've got cars on the car park, it could cause problems.
And it's more the one in the morning than the one in the afternoon. A lot of ones that hire us leave about 4 o'clock and the barrier will be up by then. But the one in the morning is when everyone's arriving.
Well, that's true. Have the police been asked about that? About the congestion it'll cause on Middleton Lane? Because it will cause congestion. There's no doubt about it.
I believe the school are running a consultation at present for people to ask such queries. And
are they going to extend that consultation when they've got, I'm sure it will go through, I don't doubt that, but I do think there are a lot of concerns. I think it's making it potentially more I'll use the word dangerous. I don't think it's quite the word, but I think it's going to cause problems on that corner, because there's always problems on that. It's like any school in the land. There's problems around the entrances, and that'll increase the problems.
I mean, just observation through you, Chair. I'm not sure that the police will have been consulted about that, but the Highways Authority will be asked to comment on that as part of the planning process.
Yeah. Will we see that at any point? Their comments?
I would think so.
Again, through you, Chair, I don't know whether we'll automatically get sent the report, but it will be in the public domain, and I can make sure I look through it and circulate it to members as and when it becomes
right.
I thought it became a legal thing that we actually have a right of way along that track. Should we call it a track or driveway? Should we call it?
I think there is an old right of way down there, but going back to when it was, coach and horses and
but we've paid for many years. We've paid what's called a way leave to keep that right of way open. I think it's £35 a year that the parish pays, and that in effect should keep that out, the right of the council. That was why it was set up, to keep the right of the council, keep the rights of the council to an open road.
Yes, and they can't block it, can they?
No, they can't. But there is a thing in that. I presume, have we asked the question yet of the school how much they're proposing to increase that? Because there was a proposal in the planning that said they were going to increase that, the payment to the parish council. I just wondered if anything had been discussed with anybody about it.
Again, Chair, at this stage, I'm not aware of any formal discussions with the school following the last meeting, but that is one of the issues that will obviously come to the table. Yes, there is a right of access over that road at the moment. There is a way leave that the council currently pays for, but the school, in its proposals to the council, did say that it wanted to review the amount.
Yes, that was in the application.
Certain councillors on this council suggested that if we're giving them land, then reviewing the amount, it should go to zero.
Oh yeah, you would think so, because they'd be getting the far better end of the deal, wouldn't they? But
or we can sell them the land. That's the option.
But it's changed now, their application, hasn't it?
Sorry,
I said their application has changed in essence from the last time, because now that land's the one thing that the school doesn't have. It's I mean, I was a governor for many years, and it was always the problem. But if we give that land, then it could directly impact on us when they get to the third stage of that application, because then they want to. It gives. I think the question of the land needs looking at again, the way it is, whether we give it them or whether they pay something for it, because they were willing to pay for it, I think, weren't they? I think we need to relook at that at some point.
Sure.
But whether we can or not, I don't know.
I mean, we risk getting into the details of some of the sensitive negotiations, and some of the proposals from the schools aren't yet in the public domain. Obviously, at this stage, only the planning application for the road aspect of it and the fencing up of the school.
But the other is the plan is there online for the second and third stages.
Is it? Okay, sorry. Right.
Oh yes, it's on the Facebook page of the Winwick Facebook page. The 3 stages are there, 21, 22, and I think if they get funding for the third stage, they haven't got that, from what I can gather.
There is a balance in all of this to be found between ourselves as a public authority trying to support the aims of other public authorities, also not wanting to be sort of diddled out of a valuable piece of land. I don't know that the land itself is actually worth a great deal on its own per se, But there was also, as part of the negotiations, the chair discussed with the school about whether they would take on board the repairs and maintenance of the road, because presently it's currently split between ourselves and the school. And part of the trade-off, part of the negotiation was about whether they would take all that back on board again.
Yeah.
So it's quite sensitive.
I think there'd be serious questions asked in future parish councils as to why we did what we're doing, because we seem to be giving a lot away and getting very little back.
I believe that.
I would be struggling to justify it in 2-3 years' time. So we need to make it now that personally, I'm not happy that they're putting a barrier up. Personally, I'm not, because somebody's going to question these things at some future stage.
Yeah, I could go with that, Diane, to be honest.
Yeah, I think one of the things we need to do when it gets to the later stages is have whoever's put their plans together for the school come out and meet with me so I can see what the actual impact is on the field as well. Because if the car park is too close to play areas, that may incur costs to move stuff around. So we need to look at that factor as well further down the line as the later stages come in. But currently,
we all need to see
the road.
I think we all need to have a better view of what the plans are before we agree to anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is I need to weigh up whether there's going to be an impact on the play areas. If there is, what the costs of that is going to be as well. And again, obviously report back to yourselves, and then any councillors that want to attend would be more than welcome to come down and ask questions. I just know everyone's, fairly time constrained with different bits and pieces. So
I think this is a question time for electors. I think in answer to the gentleman's questions, he asked, could we advise if we had discussions with the school regarding the new planning application? And I think the answer is yes. And we're very concerned about the gates. And those discussions are ongoing. I think that should be.
That sounds, yes. That's a good.
Chris is trying to ask. I'll say something.
Chris?
Yeah. Sorry, Chair. I didn't know if you could see that. I've got my hand up. I don't know what you.
No, I couldn't see. Sorry.
Oh, right. Oh, I've been sat there like a fool with my hand up. No, I was just going to say, Chair, that I want to agree with what Anne and Diana said on the principle of this issue. I think I appreciate what Julian has just said about that there may not be a significant value to the land, but fundamentally, at some point, we are going to have to examine that aspect of it. It does have a value of some kind, and in having a value, it is an asset of the parish councils. And I think that we should not be giving away necessarily our assets. We may decide in the end to give it away, and I'm conscious of the sensitivities around it, but we should not be giving away assets without a thorough examination of the cost benefit to that. Exactly. So I just think we need to look at it through that prism, because at the end of the day, it's not our asset in the sense of the people in this meeting. It's the parish's asset, ergo the public's asset. And that's what we need to consider.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've answered the gentleman's question, is what I was saying. Okay. Moving on, item 6, written motions. Do we have any written motions?
No written motions, Chair.
Okay, item 7, police. I saw there was a police report.
There are police reports from both areas, Chair. They're presented separately in the pack. The one from PCSO Anna McGrail is page 29 in the pack. The one from the other PCSO for Winwick is in the addendum papers from Neil Brown. Somewhere. I think that's I stand corrected there. I think the one from PCS and Neil Brown was circulated via email because it came in quite late on in the process. So you may not have a physical copy of it.
Mm-hmm. Did you see the pie chart on page 30?
No. I think that belongs to the Poplars and Hume ward.
It does, yes.
Yeah.
Right, has anybody got any comments on that police report?
No.
Okay. Moving on, correspondence. Is 11 there, is there?
Julian.
Right, sorry, yes. Yeah.
Item 9, Royal British Legion, promoting purchase and display of the Tommies. We were looking, there was discussion of that previous meetings, wasn't there?
There
Yeah,
was,
right.
yeah.
Would
can't
you mind
remember who
forwarding
raised it.
that to me so I can have a little look at the costs and stuff?
Yeah, I thought that was rather timely, that promotional email. So yeah, it rang a bell when it came through. So I know that members a few meetings ago thought it would be a good idea to purchase them, place them at strategic locations in the parish. So yeah, I will send that to you, Claire.
Thank you.
Just being slightly impish, if I may, what is number 3 about? The person who's asked about the possibility of metal detecting on council land?
A resident of Warrington just asked if there was any council land suitable for his hobby of metal detecting. But because of most of the council land is Winwick playing fields, or the greens, the formal greens that we've got, there isn't really any suitable land. And the only other area would of course be Radley Common and the areas around that, but it's not technically Winwick's land. We kind of look after it, but it doesn't actually belong to the parish.
No. Oh, well, it's a harmless hobby, I suppose.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair, just before you move on, there are a couple of very late items of correspondence which came in, which again only came in today. One is from the latest bulletin from the Police and Crime Commissioner and Chief Constable, which is the stakeholder bulletin. And I also received an email from a lady in connection with 20-mile-per-hour speed limit signs, just asking about whether it would be possible to affix those to lampposts in the area, which I haven't responded to yet. But of course, it's essentially a Warrington Borough Council issue. The signs on lampposts. But I'll get back to the lady and just point her in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on is planning matters.
Chair, can I say something about item 1 on planning matters, which is the Peel Hall issue?
Right, yes.
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge how positively Peter Black's contribution has been received by residents. I think people have come away from the reconvened inquiry kind of a little bit more optimistic than they did from last year's endeavour. I think it's right to acknowledge that the barrister employed by Warrington Borough Council has done a much better job this time than he did 12 months ago. I'm sure, I think you've logged in, Chair, as well to the inquiry, so I'm sure that you'll have had your own perception and opinion of what's taken place. But I think the general view amongst residents is that it's been a much more comprehensive argument that's been made this time. I think Pete Black has done a great job, and I know that obviously we've engaged with him quite widely on this issue. I think one particular point of note that he made was the argument around declaring the site undeliverable and undevelopable. which is an argument the Borough Council should have made a lot sooner, and the normal chair of this parish council wouldn't appreciate me saying that, but anyway, I have. But I think it's good that argument that members of this parish council have made for so long, those points that we've made for so long, have actually been heard in the inquiry and put across as forcefully as possible. So I guess I'd kind of summarise by saying reasons to be cheerful.
Yeah, I was.
Yes.
I must admit, Chris, I read his Pete Black's, and I was very impressed with it. And I don't really understand it too well, but it sounded very, very good. It sounded very.
It was
professional and very, yeah.
And I think the key point is that the things that residents have come to us to express a view on have been represented properly.
Yeah. I think that's a good summing up.
There wasn't a time during the whole inquiry when I was Graham or myself, or wasn't listening to what was going on. Sometimes both of us. And Polton and Fernhead Parish Council have been very supportive of Pete Black. So it will be on our leaflet.
Yeah, as Diana said, the pair of us, we've listened to every single minute of the inquiry. At least one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very impressed with the Borough Councillor's barrister, as you say, was a lot better this time, and I think he had the Satnam barrister on the ropes at times.
Good.
It was very good.
And the Peel Hall group were very good.
They were the Rule 6 party, yes.
Yeah.
And Peter Black was very good, yes.
Yeah, good.
Okay, has anybody got any other comments about any of the other planning applications there?
Just one. I was at. Wait a minute, is it here? Sorry. The Birch Avenue one. 7. It's number 7 on the list.
7,
yeah. It's for a hairdresser's. It's on Birch Avenue. Isn't that where they complain about the parking? I just wondered how it would. I think it's already, from what I can remember, it's already been partly converted. Now, I don't know what the planning is, but that's where they complain about the parking, isn't it? I don't know where I am now. No, I'm not leaving. I don't know where I am. I just wondered.
You're still with us.
I don't know what my screen's doing now, Graham. I just wondered if there'd been any objections or anything from the highways or anything, because it's very narrow up there, isn't it? It's where it's the last house, I think, I think it's about the last house on Birch Avenue. I think, if I've got the right, yeah, it is, or the first house. I just wondered if the highways had made any comments about it against the application. I don't know.
I've not
heard anything.
I've not heard anything.
No, right. I just wondered.
Again, I'm not aware of anything, Chair, but we wouldn't necessarily find out unless we kind of asked the Borough Council.
Oh, right. Yes. Obviously, they're not too bothered about it then, but it is where they complain about parking, because it's where the oil drum things are, isn't it? And they always say parking is a problem. So, hairdressers is where you park for lengths of time, shall we say?
Yeah.
Right. No, it was just.
Okay. Right. Moving on, item 10, Finance Officer's Report.
Right, you. So, we had a little bit of good news in that in getting approved for the £2,000 grant for the November closures. It automatically qualified us for grants for the December restrictions and January through March's closures as well. which has fetched an additional £12,500 into the bank, which significantly eases cash flow and has meant that some of the suppliers have already been cleared. Obviously, we've not had a lot of money through the centre with the bar being closed. We've had a total of 8,700 of income through the centre. 5.1 of it is furlough money. And with the bills that came in February, the centre actually with a profit of 3k for February. So that's reduced down again the losses. We were showing 30.2k loss, but obviously with the 12.5, that's reduced down now to around between 18 and 19,000 pounds at present, which is only approximately 5,000 pounds more than we were predicting at the start. So again, we're in a better position than we were, but not out of the woods. There's been 5.6k of precept expenditure in February, 89.7k on the year to date. I'm still working on fetching out in the outstanding customer accounts. That's in part 2, obviously, because it's got confidential information in it. But that and the summary of the suppliers and the cash flow are available in part 2. There's also the sheet of financial regulations with the amendments requested. I believe that it was largely from comments from Councillor Matthews as we went through, but there were other bits and pieces. But if people have read those and are happy to approve those, we can get them so approved in this lot of minutes, ready for the end of year accounts. Sorry,
Chair, can I ask one question?
Yes, certainly.
It's the signatures to the checks. You've got a member of staff, haven't you, signing them? Is that is covered by our financial regulations?
That is covered by
the new. It can be covered. It just bothered me slightly because obviously you're signing your own wage. I mean, it's allowed. That's the question I'm asking.
It's covered in the financial regulations.
It is.
It is allowed as a backstop. So
right.
Myself and Julian will be signatories as officers of the parish.
Yeah.
And the staff member will only be called upon to sign things off in the event that a parish councillor is not available to. And if that's going to be the case, if you obviously have notified in advance if that's going to be the case, the list of payments has to go past either the chair or the vice chair and be signed off before the process. So a parish councillor will have oversight of what's being paid on anything that's signed off by a staff member.
So effectively there'd be a paper trail. There'd be a parish councillor saying, yes, I approve this. Effectively sign it on my behalf.
I approve this payment run, however, I'm not available to sign off electronically. So
right. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
And that's all in there. It's one of it was one of the comments that Mike had actually made that needed to be amended. So that's in there.
Right. I'm not totally happy with that, but I accept if it's absolutely all right, then it's absolutely all right.
And like I say, it's to be a last resort issue. It's not to be, every week.
Yeah. Right, fine, thank you.
Okay, anybody got anything else? No. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 11, the litter service.
Chair, I'm happy to introduce this item if you like. Councillor Matthews, well, there's kind of 3 elements to it, if you bear with me. One is that the litter network, the network of volunteers that submitted questions last time, have been very active. Councillor Matthews have met with them. They've actually produced a written report in connection with their activities, which is attached as part of the addendum. I'm not. It's quite a lengthy report, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it is there to read, and it shows the commitment and the efforts put in by the members. So I think it is worth acknowledging the work that they're doing.
Oh yes.
And the fact that the parish is obviously willing to work with them. I also have a note from Councillor Matthews about the outcome of the meeting that he had with them, and they raised 5 specific points at that meeting. Not sure we've got the answers for them all tonight, but essentially the 5 questions I'll summarise them rather than read the full detail. The group would like a community meeting at the centre in June to try and get the actual network people physically together. So assuming COVID rules allow that, I'm sure the council wish to facilitate that.
Yeah.
They've also asked about improving the relationship with the council's paid for litter picker, Mr. Rowley, and again I think that's something that we need to develop, and obviously we're bringing the litter picker in house, so we'll have more opportunity, more scope to do that. The third question was about the land ownership in the Hermitage Green area, those difficult bits of land to pick, and they were just asking what, if anything, the council know about the ownership. So again, I'll try and do some digging. I may well pick the brains of existing councillors as to their knowledge about who owns the land there as well. Question 4 was about whether, if the network moved heavier items from Hermitage Green or other areas, whether our litter picker could actually pick them up and take them away in his van. I suspect that is highly possible. And Councillor Matthews asked some questions around that as to whether oil drums and things with an environmental impact, whether we as a council shouldn't involve the Environment Agency and report those issues to them, and obviously see what they can do to support that sort of side of things. And the 5th question was about fly tipping and about whether they could, the group could site wildlife cameras in non-hotspots for fly tipping. And again, there's nothing wrong in principle with doing that, but there are some rules about CCTV. We'd need to comply, or they would need to comply with the regulations about notifying people that the CCTV is sighted in the area. We can put them in touch with the people that can sort of talk them through that. So those are the 5 points raised at the meeting with Councillor Matthews. There's also been a supplementary request received from one of that group about setting up a bag drop area at the leisure centre, so that
or something. Yes, I read that.
Yeah,
it may well be in the park. I can't lay my hands on it, but that was one of the questions.
it is.
Yeah. Okay, Claire, just second. Claire?
Yeah, just 2 points. One, I've seen on the Winwick and Hermitage Green page today, Councillor Mitchell was asking that people not post CCTV on, Facebook pages, because it goes viral and then you can't prosecute the people, because obviously you can't get an unbiased jury.
Yeah.
So we'd have to be very careful with that around the CCTV issue. And 2, I've already had initial contact with Mr. Melvin about potentially setting up somewhere at the leisure centre. We just need to find the right spot, set up a little area, and then liaise with John so that when he comes down to pick the field, he can pick up those additional bags too.
Right.
So Paul's on board with that. Like I say, it's just finding the right spot that's not going to mean that, wildlife gets into the bags or it impacts the car park or anything like that, but we'll sort a spot out for them.
Okay.
They did suggest.
Yep.
Sorry, can I?
Councillor Eden, go on.
They did suggest. Sorry, I have very strong views about this, as you know. I'm very sorry because, but they did suggest a cage to put it in, and I don't think that's out of the way because there are a lot of rabbits on the field, and if cats. So they did suggest having a cage to put the bags in, because otherwise you're going to get people again dumping with the stuff. I think the group are doing an excellent job, and I think we could leave the litter picking to them personally, because I know George Melvin, and he is I don't know the other Bob, I don't know I don't know him, but he is extremely well organised in anything that he does. He does a very good job, and he'll look into all aspects of it. He's not, you know, he's organised other things through the years in the village. He's lived in the village a long time, and he will organise other aspects. Now, it seriously asks you why we need a litter picker, but I mean, we're not going to get round that. You're going to have a litter picker, and he's going to be very expensive, however you look at it. I'm sure this will come up in part 2 because you of the way you're going to do it. But I just want to make it known that I think that litter group, with a lot of encouragement and some support, could litter pick them, because they've picked over 2 weeks, they must have picked 100 and odd bags up that's been lying there forever. So I think they've done a very, very good job. There's one lad goes out every day and picks. So, you know, somehow alters the litter picking situation for me. But I mean, you know, obviously I'm on my own with this. So I just want to make a point. Sorry?
Can I play devil's advocate with that? I'm not disputing what you're saying, and you may very, very well be right. And I know that there's somebody that goes out every day and they do a fantastic job. In your opinion, would that still be the case after lockdown has lifted, all the restrictions are lifted, and people are back at work doing all their normal social activities and things?
Well, they have done it in the past, Chris. Now,
fair enough.
The guy who does that, but I mean, at the end of the day, we only get a 2.5 day litter picker. It's not like he's out every day picking.
No.
And I say Winwick, and I mean the whole of Winwick. I'm not. And equally, there are roads. If you read the last litter picking schedules, there are roads on there that we've discussed that he patently can't pick, but are still there. Nobody's looked at the schedule from over months now from I don't know if it's the Borough Council, I don't know it, but nobody's rehashed the schedule, because why are the roads on if you can't pick them? Pointless. They might as well put roads on he can pick, you know, and there's 4 or 5 roads on there and I agree that he can't pick them under the rules he works with, you know, under the way he has to operate, health and safety, etc. Now the litter group do it differently, I suppose, but I just wonder about the money it's costing, because it's not cheap. It's not a cheap service. So I've said my piece. And it's looking to be more expensive if we go through the process that we're going to go through, doesn't it? So that's my view. Sorry, Chris. I know you didn't want a discussion about it.
No. I'm all for a discussion if we need one. I've got no problem with what you're saying. I've got some sympathy about roads being on the schedule that you can't pick. I mean, I think that's pointless. But, I mean, one of my issues with this is what happens with those roads, because ultimately, you know, and this is what we diverged onto last time when we got to the point of a couple of members were saying, you know, the only way to deal with certain roads is to implement road closures for them to be picked. And I appreciate that's not ideal, but at some point that might have to be done, because the litter problem is not going to go away on its own, is it?
But the litter group have got round that by speaking to the local police and getting them to, you know, they've got round it, and they've picked roads that have been covered in rubbish forever and ever. And those are the roads that concern people more than the highways and byways. I mean, Middleton Lake, you know, they're fine, and ours, the estates. It is when people complain about what I call the pretty routes, you know, where people like to walk, and they have successfully picked them. However,
I agree with that. I don't dispute any of that.
No, I'm sure you don't. You know, that's my view anyway. So I've said, I've had my say now. Sorry.
Okay. Anybody else got anything on that?
Stop laughing.
No, you're entitled to say.
I am.
Wouldn't have it any
frequently. Nobody listens, but there we go.
No, we do.
Chris did.
Okay. Moving on, item 12, reports from the parish council committees. Management committee, 9th of February. got that here. Where is that? Lost it for a minute. What page are we talking about? Page 43, is it?
Yes,
Yeah, I think.
43 to 51.
Yeah. Do we have to approve that first before we, because it didn't go out on the thing, did it?
Chair, there's two sets of minutes in the pack there. There's the minutes from the 9th of February. Both sets are for information, really, because they will get approved at the next meeting.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So the 9th of February, the meeting was split. If you recall, I had some IT issues partway through, so the meeting was postponed partway through and then reconvened on the day of our last meeting as a council.
Yeah.
That's the first set of minutes. The second set are of the more recent management committee meeting, but again, due to some IT issues, the meeting wasn't live streamed, so it doesn't constitute a valid public meeting. So we had to sort of deal with it by way of a sort of informal note of the meeting. And again, the management committee will either ratify those decisions next time or revisit the decisions as they see fit. But both documents are supplied for information purposes only.
Right. Does anybody have any comments on those?
No, I think so.
No, only the advert has gone out for my maternity cover, and we have had a number of responses. Some good, some not so good, but we've got a fairly decent spectrum of people that we can interview. So
Okay.
if any councillors wish to volunteer to be on the interviewing committee, please let me know.
I was going to ask about this. I don't want to volunteer. What on your email, Claire? You mentioned about the meetings taking place in person. I'm just wondering, is there a particular reason that the interviews cannot be done over Zoom?
I would prefer to meet a person face to face, really, because it's very hard to gauge someone over an internet connection. It's usually much better to do face to face, which is why I've picked the week where there are no other users in the centre. So we'll be very able to keep a good link of who has actually been in and out and who has had contact with who. So, Tim?
Okay.
I was just going to say, can we not shortlist via Zoom? Then that way, at least we can separate the wheat from the chaff in terms of the applicants and invite for final interviews with face to face if needed. That way, then we are minimising exposure of people.
I have done a matrix of skill sets that are required. So I've actually already shortlisted candidates based on the CVs. It's which one of the shortlisted candidates is the best personality fit, really, that I was looking for. These were supposed to be the final interviews because we're on a obviously stunted time frame because I need them in May in order to train them up on the idiosyncrasies of what we do and then move on from there.
I completely understand. I know from the recruitment I've done myself, I've aggressively screened the CV stage and the application form stage and got the absolute minimum number of candidates through to make sure the ones that are capable of fulfilling the job get interviews. And then if you have problems, then you go to a wave 2. But
Yes.
it sounds like from the candidate selections you've got some potentially strong candidates there.
I've got approximately 5 strong candidates, and then there's 6 backup candidates from the about 25 I've had. So, like I say, we should be able to get someone interviewed and someone put in place.
I will say from a personal point of view, there are many times where I would have loved 5 strong candidates. I'm lucky if I got 2 or 3 when I've dealt with recruitment in the past and in my role, but that is no, that is good to know. If we've got such a depth of talent, we should be able to get somebody through who will be a really strong contender for the position then.
Right, thank you. Okay, moving on. 13 ward reports. Horton Green. Nothing from me. Anything from you, Diana? No, I don't think so. Is she?
Diana, is your-
Couldn't get the microphone off. No, I've nothing to say. No, not on the ward anyway.
Okay, thank you. Peel Hall ward. We've got Tim and Chris. Chris, have you got anything?
No, nothing that's not already been covered, Chair.
Okay.
There
Tim?
was an email we received from PCSO McGreal regarding traffic calming measures on Blackbrook Avenue. I understand this is probably beyond the remit of what we can do here at the parish level, but it would be interesting, obviously, to be involved in the situation and to see if we can push forward for something to be taken on by the Borough Council. I'm aware that PCSO McGreal has contacted the Borough Councillors too. It's just out of all the times to start requesting we move forward with traffic calming measures and contacting councillors, it's probably about the worst time with the forthcoming, with the imminent elections to start trying to get movement on that. But I think it's something where it would be useful for the parish council to keep an eye on that. Blackbrook Avenue, from my own personal experience, is a road that terrified me as a cyclist. Just because the cars there are so fast, and the reports are there of saying that although they're enforcing it with TrueCam, as soon as they leave, obviously the cars speed up, and it could potentially be a risk, especially with a nearby school. So it's just something where I'd say it could be something that we may just want to keep an eye on moving forward. And it will be more of an issue for the people who take up the mantle after the elections because of the timescales involved in actually getting action taken.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that. Winwick ward. I think you're the only one.
Me, Graham. It's me, Graham.
Councillor Eden, yes.
There's been a bad leak on the footpath at the bottom of the, it's not the footpath, it's over the, there's a water leak there. You are dealing with it, but it's still, it's flooding, well, sort of flooding the area. They do have it under control. It's a water, apparently, it's a water main that's gone. They've tapped it off and they've protected it. I didn't know whether there'd been any complaints about it because it's a soggy area. I think they probably don't realise it's highway, but it is highway. And it feeds, it's the water main that feeds into Rectory Close. It's a funny turn on it, and that's why it's people, and the area, probably people, they don't realise that it is highway. So it's Borough Council that really needs to, if anything happens, it's the Borough Council that need to deal with any complaints, if you like. People think it's just a, because it's not paved or anything, but people think it's just a sort of a track. It's not, it's Borough Council highway land. Just for information, really.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe the expected finish date on repairs is the 6th of April or something.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. But it is cause it, you know, if it's very soggy there now. You know, it's flooding sort of thing. If we get rain, I don't know whether rain's due, but you know, it's just so that people don't think it's our responsibility. It's not, it's highways.
It's
well,
highways.
Borough Council. Sorry.
Highways Department of the Borough Council.
Well, highways are Borough Council. I don't know. Right. No, I'm nothing else, Graham. Well, I could, but I'm not.
Thank you. Item 14, date and time. Parish Assembly.
Ooh.
It's that time again, Chair, yeah.
The 27th.
In previous years, we've brought the parish assembly forward because of the elections, just in case there's a sort of significant change in membership. So we tend to do the parish assembly the month before the council's annual meeting. So that's the rationale behind that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are we ready to move to part 2 then?
Two, okay.
Can we move to part 2, please? Stop the live streaming.